The next person that I will be interviewing is Elizabeth Cord, and Elizabeth is from Sacramento. She's currently in the Bachelor's of Fine Art in Studio at the California State University, Sacramento. She says that she enjoys working with people of all ages and abilities and believes strongly in art and creativity as powerful tools for learning. So Elizabeth, welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So, I took a look at your work and I just was immediately interested and, had all kinds of questions about the content of the work and where it comes from and how it is developed. So could you just start by describing some of that, what your work looks like and what it's about?
Well, the content is, first of all, I'm a storyteller, so I'm interested in telling a story. So the content is maybe a story of like gestation, transformation, of moving forward, like maybe moving parts of a system that comes together. So it could be in a spiritual sense of like a human being, developing and growing to, become enlightened, all the way down to like, I kind of use imagery of like cellular imagery and like, of physical growth. So I try to mirror the physical growth or like a cellular nature of growing and changing, and then also try to like, push that into a realm of like, some intangible growth of the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you talk about stories. I mean, and that sounds like a sort of a very conceptual sort of story about growth. Is there any specific things that you think about when you're making your work?
Well, as a mother, like I do think of like the growth of children, not only like in utero, like maybe like the growth of a fetus into a child, and then into an adult, and then to old age, and and beyond. So I think of a lot of again like a physical growth,
Mm-hmm.
and then of a spiritual growth. Of like some kind of like, I'm trying to figure out like, how, like what I can learn through these materials of like something greater than myself, or maybe even greater than the tactile experience that we all have. So it's yeah, it's kind of a large story. I don't want to use the word epic because that's kind of like, that puts a lot of stuff on my shoulders. I don't want it to be like too much like that, but I want it to be universal in the way that there's like an appeal to the similarities or the desires that all people have to mature and see their children mature, and to have like a forward view of life.
So what's your process like in making these pieces? How do you go about it?
I do a lot of start with automatic drawing. It's like a fancy doodling, sometimes just
Well, describe
just
that.
putting.
Describe automatic drawing for
Okay,
those people
yeah.
out there that don't know what that
It's
is.
kind of just putting the material on the support, just getting the material on the support, whether it's paint or ink or collage, just like, and kind of working with the material, putting it on is kind of intuitive, but also experimental. It's kind of like a practice in like being here now in the moment with the materials. You're kind of paying attention to how they're reacting to each other, and compositionally, like on the picture plane, thinking of these things. My story is like, always there. So I don't really like push a narrative while I'm creating the work, because it's almost like, the narrative is already there. So I just move, it kind of develops itself. I mean, I have skills, and I've developed, and I work hard. So it's not like, it just appears out of nowhere. So it is me and my decision making, but at the same time, it's very like, automatic, or what is that? Random, even like some, I'm in school right now, so I do take to heart a lot of lessons I learned from my professors. So like when I've been doing some action or like a type of drawing or painting for a while, I use a timer. I often use timers when I work too. So if
But
I'm doing it for a while,
how often do the timers go off?
usually it depends on like what kind of deadline or what I'm working with, but maybe like an hour, and then a half hour, and then 20 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 5 minutes, and that might cycle back again. Because you want to be, I want to be able to hurry myself along. That's what I was getting at with if you're doing something for too long, you may want to mix it up. And
Right.
sometimes as an artist, you get enthralled in what you're doing, and like, it feels good and it looks good, but at the same time, because you're so into it, you're not, if you take a more like objective view of it, sometimes it starts getting boring. So you have to like, mix it up and like change what you're doing, like move in a different direction in order to get a full in order to get like that rich texture or that full space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I try to go in one direction, and then like, in another direction. So it's experimental and automatic, and and improvised in a way, but at the same time there's like these like parameters that kind of like control these things. And I know that the timer does seem kind of well, I'm a mom, so I use a lot of timers for a lot of things, because there has to be enough time for everything. And so I find that it is a way to get it moving, and then like as I'm wrapping up a studio session, it's nice to say, well, what can I do in the last like 5 minutes that before I have to clean up and go to improve this piece, and it'll go, okay. And then I'll look at the clock. What can I do in the last 2 minutes before I have to go to improve this piece? And so it goes right down to the wire. And sometimes that's when the best decisions are made, because I'm always looking for economy. That's my new one of the things I came up with recently was like, I want to be able to get the most, not out of my time and my material, but also my brain power. So I'm always thinking about what I can do, like the path of least resistance, I guess. Like, what can I do to make something happen in the easiest way?
Yeah. So tell me, so you're in school now. You're in, you're in the studio program at Sac State.
Yes.
Has, being in this program changed your work? And if so, how? How has your work developed? And, since you've entered the program?
Yes, it has changed. I would say changed for the better. More, again, not so narrow. I don't get so wrapped up in my own ideas of what something should look like, but I've been learning to listen to what the work wants to look like, if that makes sense. Like what, don't push my agenda so much. Don't be so heavy-handed with the narrative, or, what I have to say, the point. You just kind of loosen up I'm the creator, so my point is always going to be there.
Was your work before you entered the program more formal, not as loose, more tight, more using more realism? How was that? How did you? How have you been loosening up? In an example, if you took
I
before and
I
now.
get Yeah, I guess beforehand it was a little more graphic,
Mm.
a more graphic design type, more linear, uh, more illustrative. Like I still rely heavily on illustration. I enjoy, figures and thing, objects to propel my narrative. But I think, yeah, from before to now, it was, well, I just look back at my older portfolio and it just seems so juvenile.
Mm.
Kind of almost like cartoonish, or just, not well rounded, flat is what that would be my critique of my old portfolio. So, with working with different people, not just the professors, but my classmates as well, to make like a dynamic learning environment where it's like a collaborative effort to help each other grow as artists. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I've tried many different techniques that I'm open to a lot of different things. But just like I said, sometimes you just don't think of these things on your own, and you need to have input from other people, either directly telling you what to do or seeing other people do stuff.
Yeah, that's what school is about, right? Just getting that input and.
Yeah, I really like it. I'd like to figure out how to stay forever.
So, so speaking of which, what are your goals artistically, in the work that you're making? Like, what's the next step for you artistically? What did all this work that you're doing in school, what are you, working towards?
Well, I would like to get into a master's program. I'm only in a BFA program,
Mhm.
so it's just my first degree. So I'd like to get my second degree, and then my master plan after that. I'm not, I would like to use art as a way of like communication and education, and to help people with, critical thinking uh, about the world around them. I'm a very visual learner, so when I see stuff, that's critical thinking for me. Like when I'm processing visual things, that's a critical thinking. So I would like to be able to share that with other people. I think it could help them.
Mhm.
Um, for career goals, I'm really open. One thing that I have thought that would be really interesting um, is my oldest daughter has some medical problems, so she's been in the hospital for some period of time. And when we were there, I stayed with her, and she was presented with all these like art box kit and all these like, great things for her to do while she was in there. And then I did a little research and I found out, a lot of children's hospitals will have like an art director that will handle, art for the children who are in the hospital for long periods of time. Getting them supplies, and like, making up projects, or like, supervising those things.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
that seemed like kind of like I never thought of that before. How well, I've always thought about working with children in art, but it was just like kind of a special niche that I never thought about before, of like working with children during their hospital stay
Yeah, there's
with
programs
art.
now in many
Yeah.
hospitals. It's a real it's been tested, and it really helps the patients. Not just children, but all the way
Yeah. Yeah.
through. So, just one final question: where can
Yes.
people find your work and you? And do you have any exhibitions coming up?
I do have a website, elizabethcord.art. you know, ELIZABETHCORD art. As for exhibits coming up, I'm not sure, you know, like, I'm sure everybody's kind of been experiencing this with the COVID-19
Yeah.
quarantines and stuff like that. So I'm not sure, like, things that had been planned are now postponed. And, you know, regular things that occur at university are also postponed. So I don't know. I do have one piece at the Verge show that's connected to
The open studios.
the event we're doing right now. Yes, I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
that's okay.
um,
Well,
but other than that, you know, I'm just not sure. So probably like a lot of artists right now, it's just a really like time to just focus on the making and you know, producing things to be shared at a later date. Not so much networking right now. That's
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, you
That's
keep
why this
making.
was a great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was wonderful speaking with you
Oh, thank
today,
you.
and good luck with your practice and your program. And I wish you much success.
Oh, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good day.
Nice chatting.